She had a breakdown one night and snapped and shot and killed them. She placed the gun and she pulled the trigger.
She tried to shoot you.
3 siblings are dead, but there is one survivor.
You're looking for a sister
who's been a mystery.
She is alive.
Until now.
And she's here.
It's hard to imagine anything worse than a mother killing her own children. But today we're going to unravel a horrible story that had my first guest narrowly escaping being murdered at the hands of her own mother. Her older brother and sister were, in fact, shot in their sleep. Lori was woken up by the heat of the gun barrel, and her infant cries are what saved her.
In February of 1962, my father was working a late shift. The 3 of us children were at home with our mother. I was 2 months old. Ken Jr. was 10, and Marie was 7. Marie got up about 1 o'clock in the morning. My natural mother sent Marie back to bed, and then she got one of my dad's guns and loaded it and walked into their rooms, and just behind their right ear she placed the gun and she pulled the trigger. When she had fired the gun the first 2 times, the gun barrel had gotten hot. So when she came in to kill me and she placed the gun against my head, it burned me and I started screaming. And she fired and the gun misfired. And at that point, she was done. She called the police and told them that she had just murdered her children. My natural mother, Adelia, was committed to a mental institution, and she did become pregnant. I'm not sure who the father was. That baby was Marlinda. That's the sister that I've spent the last couple of years trying to find.
Now, the sister you just heard her reference that she's been looking for the last couple of years, she didn't know existed until 2 years ago. After numerous dead ends, Lori enlisted the help of our good friend Troy Dunn. Now, he's also known as the Locator. So we asked Troy to meet with Lori to try to find out more about what she knew and what she was looking for.
I appreciate your faith in sharing your story with me. Your biological mother had killed your siblings. There was a part of you as a young girl that wondered if she would come for you.
I thought of it often. Why did she do it? Was I so unlovable that she felt she had to do something like that? That was something I really...
Swear I won't forget this, why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless. Sitting up I'm breathless, anxiety's infectious. I feel so defenseless, betrayed and embarrassed. I hate being open, I hate being broken. I feel like an ocean filled up with emotion. Anger ain't a potion, rub it on like lotion. I can feel it soaking, reopen, the scars have awoken. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath slow, 'cause I can't move on till I let go.
We struggled with was what was so wrong that she couldn't love us enough.
And now you're trying to find your last living sibling. At this point in your life, why do you need this?
It's just one more thing that I wasn't told. But to find out that I have another sister was like this gift that had been given to me.
Now, before we meet Lori, I want to let you here in the studio audience and at home in on a really big secret.
Dr. Phil, Lori doesn't know it yet, but I found her sister Marlinda, and she's in the dressing room right behind me. Now, she can't see or hear anything going on stage, and she is nervous. So I'm going to talk to her right now and find out what she feels about meeting her sister for the very first time.
Now, you may be surprised that we're disclosing this to you all now, here, at this point. But what you're about to learn is that there are many twists and turns to this story that are going to leave both sides just reeling to find the right answers and decisions about what to do. Now, all of you here know more than Lori does, because she's getting ready to come out now. Dr. Phil, good to meet you.
Hi, good to meet you too.
Have a seat right here. So, you were raised by your biological father and your stepmother, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you had suspicions growing up that your family was hiding something. Why?
Well, there were just occasionally, there would be an overheard conversation. Mm-hmm. You know, like I would hear one of the cousins talking about a brother and a sister. You know, and I'd go and ask, you know, do I have a brother or a sister? And, you know, the answer would be no, of course not. Who told you that? Or at one point, someone mentioned something about my mom not being my mom, that I was adopted. You know, and so of course the question is, am I adopted? And no. You know, so there were just occasional instances where you'd overhear something.
Eventually, you did discover the truth.
Yes.
Because I heard you talking about your biological mother. You know the truth. Tell me how you found out about it.
I was 14 years old. It was toward the end of my 8th grade year in school, and I was at a swim party, and one of my good friends had been adopted and knew about it. So I was asking her questions. I was just being naturally curious about it. And one of the girls that was at the party said, you know, why are you asking such stupid questions? You're adopted yourself. And it was like, no, I'm not. And she was, oh, yes, my mom and your aunt are friends, and I heard them talking, and your mom was this crazy lady that shot and killed 2 of her kids. And it was just, you know what, you shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You know, leave me alone. I just got very angry, and the angrier I got, you know, the more she talked, the more detail, where I began, you know, to think, this cannot be happening to me. This cannot be true.
Who picked you up from the pool party?
My stepmom.
Did you say something to her about it?
Yes, we had a conversation on the way home.
And what did she say?
I wanted to know if it was true, and she said yes. And then she did tell me that I had had a brother and sister, that my dad had been married before, and that my natural mother had a breakdown one night and snapped and shot and killed them.
And she said, don't bring this up to your father.
Yeah.
Why?
She said that this, and understandably so, had devastated my father, that had just destroyed him.
And so these people had, for 14 years, you had lived a lie, but you continued to with your father. You didn't say anything about it.
No.
Were you okay with that?
No,
And then when you went to college, you start looking around and you find old newspaper clippings and articles, and that's when you got a lot of detail, right?
I got more detail.
Yeah. Were you concerned about having children yourself, and concerned about genetic transmission from your mother to you and from you to your children?
Yeah, there was a lot of trepidation as far as what type of mother would I be. You know, I had grown up my whole life. That's all I wanted to be, was a mom.
Now you're looking for a sister, maybe alive, maybe not. Do you have concerns that she might be like your mother?
No. No, I don't. Because at this point, I know.
Now, have you in your life struggled with any mental illness issues or any medical issues that might be hereditary?
Yes, bipolar.
Have you ever had an episode that of either severe depression or suicidal tendencies or a violent outburst or something like that?
Violent outbursts and depression, severe depression.
So when you say that your bipolar caused a violent outburst, give me some detail. What does that mean?
Well, a teacher made me mad and I threw a desk at her.
What's the emotional journey after you've had one of your episodes?
Sometimes I regret it. Sometimes I think, oh, they deserve that. So.
Genetic problem.
If your sister were alive, what would you want to say to her?
That it is such a joy and a gift to me to know that I have another sister, that she's loved and that she's treasured, and that I just so look forward to meeting her and getting to know her. I have children and grandchildren. They want to know their aunt. And I would hope that she would feel the same.
What are your concerns, if any, about meeting your biological sister?
Well, one thing is, you know, her and I not getting along right off the bat, you know.
Why do you think that is?
Because how I can be.
Because of your unpredictable
Yes.
emotional swings?
Yes. And my husband, he goes, sometimes you could be a bit cold. I don't want her seeing that part.
I would hope that she would feel the same.
And if she has passed, you would want to know that as well?
Yes. Yes.
Well, we're going to take a break. And I will tell you that you know that Troy is here.
Yes.
And he has been able, as is his way, to find some information.
Okay.
Also, coming up, you're going to hear what happened when Lori tracked down her biological mother, the woman who, after murdering Lori's 2 siblings, nearly killed her too. Be right back.
We got a call one evening that my natural mother was at the bus station and could we come get her. I felt absolutely terrified. My mother committed a horrible double murder. Before this crime occurred, my mother, Adelia, had another daughter, Linda, and she poisoned her with baby aspirin. So at the time of the crime, Linda was in a state hospital. She had suffered severe brain damage.
Well, the fact that my guest is here today is a miracle. Because 50 years ago, her mother poisoned her sister, Linda, leaving her with severe brain damage, then shot and killed her 2 other siblings while they slept. Then she went to Lori's crib and attempted to shoot her too, but the gun misfired. Decades passed, and then just 2 years ago, Lori discovered that her mother was in a mental hospital and had given birth to another daughter, Marlinda. When I say mental hospital, she was incarcerated at this point. No one knows what happened to that little girl. So Lori enlisted the help of the locator, Troy Dunn, to find her only surviving sister, if she is even alive. So please welcome Troy Dunn. Troy, I know you've done this 40,000 times and counting. But I cannot imagine a situation in which there were more obstacles than this. You have a woman that is given birth while incarcerated, and there's a mental hospital involved, and all of those rules and regulations where these things are sealed up. It is difficult to track these things down, right?
It is difficult, and in some cases impossible. I mean, I'm not able to find everybody that we seek out to find.
And you say you have 2 reasons for wanting to find her. What are they?
You know, I'm asked a lot, well, what if she doesn't know about you? And in this day and age, at some point, I feel that she's going to find out that she was adopted. Either when her parents pass away, she finds paperwork, or some relative's going to come out of the woodwork like they did with me and give her the truth. So if she goes hunting, I don't want her story to end at a mental hospital with a mother who was convicted of murdering her children. I want her to know that there is grace and joy beyond that story.
In fact, Lori herself was afraid to meet her biological mother, but she did actually track down and meet her biological mother. Here's what happened.
When I was in my 20s, I reached out to doctors to find my natural mother. We got a call one evening that she was at the bus station and could we come get her. I felt terrified. I asked the kid's dad, Grant, you know, what are we gonna do? We packed up and drove down to the bus station. My husband, Grant, was a gun owner. He had a loaded gun in the car underneath the driver's seat because we did not know what situation we were walking into. When we got to the bus station, there was just this older gray-haired lady sitting in the station, and I look like her. I felt chills. How did my dad love me so much when I looked like her? And he couldn't even speak her name. It's horrifying to think that, oh wow, all of this is true, and this is my natural mother.
All right. Now, Troy, you've been working hard to gather information. Why don't you share with Lori what you found out?
Well, I promised you when we spoke that there could be a number of different outcomes,
Right.
a number of different ways this could go. And I did find some information about Marlinda. Okay. And that information led me to her location. And she is alive. And in fact, I spoke with her on the phone to find out if this would be something that she would be interested in doing. Okay. And she said yes, and she's here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you ready to meet her?
Hi.
Seat.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it's so good to meet you, and it's so good for the two of you to meet. So tell me what you're thinking and feeling right now.
Oh, my girls are ready to do a happy dance. I'm just so overjoyed. And
You might be interested to know she's about 15 miles from your house.
you're
Seriously?
kidding me.
I went around the world, coast to coast, and all I had to do was down the street.
How do you feel about meeting your sister?
I'm excited. I wanted to meet her. I wanted to see what she looked like, how she grew up, if I had any nieces or nephews.
Do you have any idea what happened to your mother, where she is now, what the history of all of that is?
I was told she moved to South Carolina.
Do you want to know
Yeah, oh yeah.
where she is and what happened? And
Yes,
the truth, I think, is important to know.
yes.
And if you want to know that, then we want to share it with you, and your sister wants to share it with you. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Well, after 2 years of desperately searching, Troy Dunn located Lori's sister Marlinda and just reunited them for the first time right here. Now, Marlinda does not know anything about her biological mother. And as I've said, you know, these things are not always happy. They're not always what we would maybe want them to be. And Troy, you might give us an overview here of kind of what the family tree has been, and then you might fill in some of the personal aspects of this. And Marlinda, again, these are things you want to know, right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Oftentimes when I get an opportunity to do these things, I get to share lots of exciting and interesting stories. Today, I need to share with you some things that might be difficult to hear.
Okay.
Lori has looked for you because she was afraid that you might learn some of this on your own as you went about searching on your own, and wanted you to have the support system of family. So that's why we're doing this today.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
You are one of 5 children, 4 girls and a boy.
Wow.
And your mother struggled significantly with mental illness. Your oldest sister, when she was a young girl, was poisoned by your mother. And she struggled with brain issues from that for her entire life and just passed away 2 years ago.
I just thought of her as just this beautiful, gift that we had in our family for as long as we had her. I was very grateful.
So that was one of the 5.
So after she had poisoned your sister, she had a difficult night, and I, for lack of a better term, will say that she snapped. And she went into the bedroom of your sleeping siblings and she shot your 7-year-old sister dead. And then she went and shot your 10-year-old brother dead. And then she went to the crib where the 2-month-old baby of the family lived. And she put the gun to the baby's head and pulled the trigger, but the gun misfired. And that baby lived, and that baby is your sister, Lori.
And I was born Melinda.
That's a lot to take in. And this is why it was so important to you that she not read this in the paper somewhere, that she not discover this on the internet,
Right.
but that you be here and that she have professionals here and that you be able to share this with her so you could answer questions and support her if she had questions.
Yes. Yes, I didn't want you to go through what I went through when I found out. And have all these questions and nowhere to go to get them. I wanted you to know that you're loved and you're valued and that what you have to say counts and your feelings count.
Now, do you know why I'm the only one she gave up?
When you were born, your mother was incarcerated. So you were conceived and birthed in an institution where she was incarcerated. So she didn't have a choice.
Okay.
She had no choice because she was a prisoner.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't keep you at that point. And so what it boils down to is you too are the survivors.
Yeah.
Of those 5. You two made it, and that's why Troy was on such a mission to bring you two together, because you two made it. And you go from here and you build it a step at a time. How do you feel about what you've learned?
Well, it's kind of sickening knowing my mother had done that. I mean, if she was that mentally ill, I mean, she should have just given, the kids up.
Yeah.
You don't do that to kids.
No. Mm-mm. No.
You were told a completely different story by your adoptive parents, correct? What did they tell you?
They told me she was a nurse, that, well, even my adoption papers said she went to South Carolina. When my husband talked to my dad, I knew something was up because he said, I don't want her to get hurt. And that's when I kind of thought in my head, there's something more than what I've been told.
Well, there is more to the story. You won't believe what happened when Lori and her son visited her biological mother. We'll talk about that when we come back. Well, I'm here with Troy Dunn. We're talking to Lori and Marlinda, who have met for the first time in their lives here just a few minutes ago. They're sisters that have survived a very toxic mother, a very toxic family situation. After years and years, they have finally come together here. As we said earlier, Lori did get the chance to meet their biological mother, a mother that, as we now know, poisoned one of her children, shot and killed 2 other of her children, attempted to shoot and kill Lori and had Marlinda while she was incarcerated in a mental institution. She was ultimately released and contacted by Lori. Lori says she didn't realize just how dangerous the woman was until she paid one shocking visit with her son.
Delia asked us if we could come visit. We drove to her home, me, my husband, and our son, Michael. Michael, being a 2-year-old, I gathered up all the medication, put it up in one of the top cupboards. Adelia wasn't herself. I got nervous. Our son Michael was asleep in the back of the house. At one point, Adelia had excused herself and left the kitchen. When Adelia came back, she was being so cold. Just a feeling of horror came over me, and I ran to our son's crib. There were pills around the bedding of the crib. I just lost it. I started screaming for my husband. I picked up our son and ran out the front door. When they pumped my son's stomach, the doctors told us that if I had not followed my gut instinct, he would have died. My mother denied poisoning Michael, but there is no doubt in my mind she did it.
So when I say that you two survived, it's a miracle you're here, and you were so blessed to have been removed. I mean, that is such a blessing.
Oh, yes.
That you were removed from her and had the opportunity to live apart from this woman. And I hope you see that as a blessing in your life.
Oh, yes.
And I hope you two see it as a blessing to come back together now.
Very much.
And get to know each other.
I do feel blessed that I was given to, my parents were great.
Yeah. So
but
mine. Yeah.
Hearing about it, I'm just like, I can't believe it. It's like a shock.
Mm-hmm.
People should understand that genetics in most situations determine what can happen, not what will happen. And let me just say this in closing here. Relationships aren't based on blood.
Right.
They're based on history and experiences. You two are adults. If you have a relationship, it will be because you build one.
Right.
And you are only 15 miles apart. So you will have the opportunity to meet a step at a time. I think it's wonderful that you have found each other. You do God's work, my friend. You so do in bringing people together. It's just so great. I do need to say one last thing to you. Your mother has passed, and so that means the threats are not there at this point. And so it really does mean that it's the two of you at this point. And so we wish you both the best. Now, coming up, I'm going to keep Troy here because he's going to help me tackle another story about separated loved ones. But it's not what you think. I'm going to put him to work in a different way. We'll be right back.
Three weeks after Tim and I were married, I found text messages on his phone from his ex-wife, and he's like, I want you, I want our family back.
There were several text messages, at least a dozen, and less than 200.
Joining me today is Troy Dunn. You may recognize him as the locator. This season, he's been working on all sorts of stories with us, not just reunions. This guy has been really bringing families back together for so long, and it doesn't just have to be families that have lost each other in the universe. It can be families that have lost each other emotionally. They've lost each other just in their lives and in this busy workaday world. And I thought, this guy's got too much experience and talent to just be in that one lane. So I've kind of put him on an 8-lane highway here. My next guests have been married, divorced, reunited, separated, reunited again. Now, did you get that? and now want to know if it's a good idea to marry for a second time. Take a look.
Tim is my true soulmate. But Tim and I have broken up 7 to 8 times since 2009. He has hung up on his ex-wife.
I love Mitzi with all my heart, but I was with my wife for 10 years. That relationship is certainly not anything you can throw away.
3 weeks after Tim and I were married, I found text messages on his phone from his ex-wife asking him if he wanted the house, and he's like, I want the house, I want you, I want our family back.
There were several text messages, at least a dozen, and less than 200.
I took the marriage certificate, I ripped it up, I filed for divorce about 4 days later.
These messages were strictly an event for me to get that out of my system. I never once cheated on Minty, so I felt like it was an overreaction.
We got back together less than a month after we divorced. 4 months later, I found an email to his ex-wife begging her back.
I wasn't out to hurt Minty at all. It was private information I didn't think she would ever find.
After I found the emails, I just let it go and I got back with him. Just last month, Tim asked me to marry him, and I said yes.
I feel like I'm ready to marry Mitzi, and the problems we've had in the past with me and the ex-wife behind us.
I hope that Dr. Phil and Troy will be able to help me figure out what I need to do with Tim. Should I give this guy another chance?
Y'all have been knowing each other how long?
Almost 4 years.
Oh, this is all in 4 years? Okay, can we go through the timeline here? Troy, follow me along here. I know, close your mouth. Troy's like, what? Okay, so May 5th of 2009, you guys meet, right? But you've been married before.
Correct.
Were you married at this time?
No.
May of 2009, you're divorced.
Correct.
1 month later, you move in with Tim. Okay, right?
Correct.
Correct.
All right. A month later, you move out.
I do.
How come?
Because he still wasn't over his ex-wife.
All right, so 2 years later, Tim asked Mitzi to marry him. So you say, because you think
I'm
he's...
hesitant, yes.
But you did say yes.
I did say yes.
But because you think he's finally over her.
I hope he is.
Because it's now been 3.5 years.
Exactly.
So Mitzi marries Tim. 3 weeks later, Mitzi files for divorce. 3 weeks later. Why?
I found text messages on his phone.
To?
His ex-wife.
But you're over her.
Not as much as I thought.
2 months later, the divorce is finalized. Less than 3 weeks later, you start dating him again. So now we're in like January of 12, right?
Correct.
So 5 months later, you break up with him again. A month later, you get back together with him, right?
It took a long time to get over my ex-wife. Mitzi is fully in my heart. I love her with all my heart.
Mm-hmm. Okay, over the next 6 months, Mitzi and Tim break up 3 more times. So 1 month after another breakup, Tim proposes to Mitzi, and Mitzi says yes. That brings us up till about now.
Correct.
Okay, so you said yes again.
I did.
Reluctantly?
I'm just afraid to let my guard down. I'm afraid that I'm going to get hurt again.
You're worried?
I am worried.
How long have you been married?
25 years this May.
How many kids you have?
8.
So you're apparently good at it.
I am fertile.
You have 8 kids.
I do. Everybody collects something.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
As I'm listening, it is funny to hear this crazy life because we're sitting here on the outside, but if I really stick myself in the middle of this and imagine that this is my daughter or my sister, I don't even understand clearly why we're here. I don't understand why you're still here.
I love him.
What is it you love?
Just him. I don't like some of the things that he does.
He treats you like yesterday's pizza that he reheats whenever he wants a snack.
Boy, he's dogging on you something terrible. He actually talks about true love. Let's hear what you say about true love.
I want this to work.
I want to believe that I'm the one and only in Tim's life now, but I think if there was a knock at the door and it was Tim's ex-wife, I think he would take her back in a heartbeat.
I have a place for my ex-wife, and at the same token, I have a place in my heart for my high school girlfriend. If you have that true love for somebody, I think that always stays with you.
Coming up, Mitzi says she wants to know what I think she should do. but I'm not sure she really wants to hear what I have to say, but I'm going to tell her anyway when we come back.
When Tim and I break up, he sends me horrible text messages when he's mad and when he's been drinking too much. You, I'm a low-life bitch. I'm a horrible excuse as a mother.
I tell Mitzi texts don't count on any level, sober or drunk. It's just a release of someone's thoughts at that moment.
That was Tim talking about sending his fiancée, who also happens to be his ex-wife, rude text messages. Mitzi admits she recently accepted Tim's re-proposal for marriage, but says she can't sleep at night because she's worried she may be making another mistake.
Where is your family in all of this? Because I want to tell you, if you were my daughter, my sons, all 6 of them, I mean, they would stuff this man full of candy and beat him like a piñata. Is your family okay with this?
No, they won't speak to me.
Because?
Your family doesn't speak to you?
No, because I'm with him.
Would you like a little defense here?
Yes.
See, I don't think that you should apologize for how you feel. What you have to apologize for is how you behave. See, here's the thing. He loves you when he's with you. He loves you when he's not drinking. I'm sure he's charming. He's a nice guy. But that doesn't mean that it's a good thing, because if he turns around and does this, this is a man with anger. This is a man that has resentment towards you. There's no theory under which this would work this time.
Can I just interject for a second and say that I could fill this room with couples who have never had that kind of an experience. And my fear is that you're living in it so much that you think maybe this is the way normal couples communicate and that he loves me 68% of the time. But I'm here to tell you that isn't the way it is. And I think you need to start keeping a tally sheet. Every time he speaks to you, did he honor me or did he dishonor me? I can tell you in the Dunn house, Jennifer gives me one dishonor and I'm out.
So what he says when he's drinking is what he's thinking when he's not drinking. That doesn't mean you're a bad guy, but it means nothing has changed since the last time. Why? Because you guys haven't done any premarital therapy. You guys haven't done any resolution of issues. You've got to do an autopsy on your last several assignations. The last several times you lived together, got married, reconciled, did all of that. You've done nothing to heal what happened the last time. Until you do that, do not get married. Your family is correct. Do what you have to do to fix this or don't get back in. And you shouldn't want to get back in. You shouldn't apologize for the way you feel. What you should do is change the way you behave. And to do that, you guys need to sit down and resolve your issues. This is sitting down with a professional and working through this, and I am more than happy to arrange that for you. My gift to you. Are you willing to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back. Well, we've been talking about some serious issues today, so I thought it might be time to just cheer you all up a bit. Now, yesterday, Robin told you that she'd be here all this week sharing some of her favorite things from a great social shopping site, OpenSky.com.
Yes, they've asked me to be their beauty and health and wellness insider, sort of like a consultant. So I get to select and share products that I really love. And I'm constantly updating my page with them with all my new discoveries, and I think really you should check it out. Now, yesterday I talked about invigorating your skin. Today I'm focusing on hair because, ladies, I want all of you looking your best for the holiday season. And one of my favorite products is this hair dryer and flat iron. It's kind of a combo from Sultra.
I don't think I can use any of this stuff. You would, of course, have to